Get in, loser, we're going healing. You know how they say bad days are just so important because they make you realize what you don't really realize when you're happy. Now that I have, you know, much more free time on my plate than ever, than like literally my entire life, I just now have the time to sit and think with clarity about my life and what it is that I actually want to do in life. I feel like now what just matters to me so much is waking up. In a way, there were so many points in my life, in my 28 years of living, like I wasted so much time, so much freaking time just being in a bad mood and being so low and not knowing why I'm feeling that way. Decided to sit with myself and not distract myself. If you are feeling down, it's really about sitting with yourself long enough to realize what it is that's making you sad. If you really pay attention to what you're angry about in life, this is literally like your core desire. Things may matter to you, but they don't matter to somebody else. That's what makes you unique and what makes you think the way that you think and makes you have the mindset that you do. This is just what makes me so angry because I feel like I wasted so much time being low, not understanding things, and then as soon as I put them into perspective, I realized like, whoa, I'm doing this to myself because I'm thinking these bad things and negative thoughts. I'm basically putting myself down, and I realized that I just love giving advice to people. I feel like my toxic trait is actually not taking my own advice. I used to be like so into YouTube back in the day, but it was like a different kind of niche where it was like I wanted to focus on like fashion and makeup and all that. As much as I also love that, I realized what's more important and what's more needed in this generation is like the inner glow up and not just the outer glow up. Just waking people up, making you realize your power, like how much power you actually have and how much potential you have just if you get your head straight, get your thoughts straight. Don't dwell in this negative state that's eating you up, making you remember who the hell you are and realizing how big and how successful and how amazing you can be, but you're just not being because you're self-sabotaging because of wounds that you may have, trauma or something that's holding you back. And let me be honest with you, I spent years rethinking this channel and rethinking this series and rethinking the stuff that I want to say, and I just wouldn't stop, you know, doubting myself. I wish I had like this kind of video to tell me not to. It's really not worth it wasting this much time on overthinking everything. I talked myself out of it for so long. So I basically just don't want you to numb yourself and pretend, hey guys, I look a little bit different. My camera died that day, but here I am to continue. So what I was basically talking about is for years and years and years, I have just doubted myself. And I feel like ever since then, I've just been distracted, you know? And that distraction was not just a distraction. Deep down, it was actually me sabotaging the whole thing because I'm like, you know, who am I to give advice? Like, I'm just gonna be like just like everybody else doing corporate. And now after 4 years of corporate, I realized that I don't think I was built for corporate. I don't think I was built to work for somebody else, live on somebody else's terms. And then when I took the plunge to just quit my corporate job, I just gave myself the time and the clarity that I always craved, but I never allowed myself to have. I feel like I was not okay for a really long time. So I feel like I legit quit my job to heal. I'm that type of person that tends to doubt themselves a lot, like lose their sense of identity or sense of self, and it's almost like I reached a point where I genuinely did not know who I was anymore. Of course, I was dealing with burnout and a few other things, and then I was watching this interview one day and it was like, if you really want to know like yourself or figure out the things that you are not aware of yourself, just ask the closest people to you. Just ask your loved ones, like, hey, what do you think of me? Give me like your honest, brutal opinion. And I asked, you know, the closest person to me, my sister. I was like, who do you actually think I am? She's like, you don't know it, but you give really good advice. Like, you're the type of person that would just cheer everybody up when they're feeling down, remind them of their power. You lift them up, you lift people up. And I'm like, okay, I just knew that I wanted to do YouTube. Okay, that was like my general direction, but what niche I didn't know. Okay, and I realized, okay, maybe I should just start making like this little series on like healing, okay, and like, you know, digging in deep and like looking at your patterns and looking at your triggers. And as a person, I crave so much depth, like in all of my connections and all of, you know, my friendships and relationships and stuff. I cannot do like small talk. I cannot do that type of stuff. So this is for the girls that are just tired of, you know, pretending and tired of feeling disconnected, because there is so much freaking fakeness in this world that we live in today, this is the season of my life that I'm going to reconnect with myself. After being disconnected with myself for so long, connect with my purpose and connect with my intention. If I one day have kids, inshallah, I refuse to pass down all of these survival traits onto them. I don't want to pass down survival mode. I don't want to pass down living on autopilot. I refuse to pass down the fact that my only value in life is how much I'm able to grind. This is for the generation of the cycle breakers, for the people that are just ready to wake up and just stop living in bullshit, you know? Stop living in the fakeness. Stop living in putting on a mask, pretending to be somebody that you're not, just so that you're liked and you're accepted and you are appreciated. Coming from a recovered people pleaser, it's time for us to stop living our lives and wasting our lives on other people's terms, because, you know, we're so scared of, oh, what are they gonna think of me? Why do we put people on a pedestal like that? And you know, one thing you also realize with time, once your frontal lobe develops, people are really not that special if you really think of it deep down. And by the way, when I talk about healing, I'm talking about like deeply questioning everything about you, what you believe, who you are as a person, who you're meant to be, what is your calling, what you're doing with your life, and why is it that you feel disconnected even though you're doing everything you were supposed to do. It really is about, I'm not actually quitting my life. I'm at a phase where I'm just putting it on pause. I'm pausing just to reconnect with it. I'm not giving up being successful. I'm just waking up. I don't want to live blind. I don't want to wake up at 40 years old and realize that I have built a life that doesn't feel like mine. You know, that I didn't feel like it was in my control to design it however I please. The enemy is not privilege. The real enemy is actually disconnection from yourself and from your life and from your purpose and from what your true calling in life is. You can have like a 6-figure job and still feel empty on the inside. You can have everything that you thought you wanted and still feel empty on the inside. And that's what happened to me. I worked in the most amazing companies, but did that give me freedom? No. Did that give me purpose? No. Did I feel alive? No. Like, you are allowed as a human to question the system that you were handed. You're allowed to make space for yourself before you're able to serve the world. You're allowed to choose depth over being, you know, productive every single minute of the day.